In a world that walks the line, there's a rare few who think outside the box together for the crew. To break the equations, not bound to any rule. Exposing to the world the universe's own view. It takes the talent of the craftsman, it takes the mind of the fool, to make the vision realize energy and matter in a duel. To a break, to a duel. The old man Bills was running through his head. Cheryl probably got it hiding under his bed. Penny up to Annie making power for days. Don't listen to a word that the straight no says. Mike building batteries that power a ship. Victor comes in talking math, that's the water spiral dip. Sean chucking plasma volts a mile long. Sheila on the video making tones from the prongs. Burning, breaking matter, they said it couldn't be done. And to all the people in the chat, I know you're having fun. So it's time to spend your Saturday with the dope and old man Bills.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Nathan, otherwise known as Old Man Bill. Joe, what's going on?
Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. What's going on?
Man, I barely made it in here, man. I was running.
Oh, you too? Get out of town. Yeah, one of those days for sure, man.
Yeah, I think I ate at marathon speed to get here. So, anyway, man, we got some cool stuff to talk about today. Sean, we're going to go through some of your stuff here, man. Joe's been breaking it down. Been totally awesome to look at. There's some wild things going on here.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. And it's stuff that we've been talking about at this point for a little while now. I mean, it's been weeks and weeks since we started the conversation. And, I think that everything has kind of started to come together on it as far as exactly what's happening. And, even though it's working, right, I think it's important to know what's happening, because then we could know how to build it in a usable, functional way. Mm-hmm. And that really is the next step in the end goal. And what I will say is that every time I open up Sean's new videos, new work, his little variation on what he's doing, it all ties it all together. And aside from that, there's stuff that happens that when we show it to you, it's weird. Okay? It's weird. This is now coming into the point of unusual and observable phenomena, Mm-hmm. So can't wait to share that and kind of sink our teeth into it. So
okay, well, let me just start off real quick. I'm gonna if I got the right file here, I'm just gonna add a file and we're gonna take a look at it, because Sean a little while back made this thing sustain for quite a while, and I don't think everybody's seen that yet.
Very cool.
Let me see if I got the right one right here. Yeah, you can see this game goes on forever, man.
Oh, yeah. Very important observations to be made off of this right now.
Oh, dude, did you notice what just happened there?
Well, it's very small on my screen. Now, I noticed some. You talking about that little part that broke off?
Yeah, just take a look at it real quick, okay? Because I'm going to show you something. It doesn't start out on the same side it ends up on.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. It's got a moon or a planet.
See, it just moved right there.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot, man. That's what, an eighth or a quarter of an inch?
Well, it seems to be in a locked position with the RAV itself. So it's keeping like an equidistance to it. Very unusual.
but it's not rotating around it. It's, I don't want to say this.
Right, it's in a lock position.
Yeah. See, it's doing it again. It moves to the left. As soon as he moves the anode there, it moves.
Well, right. I mean, that's because it's staying. It appears to be staying relative to the RAV itself. So as the anode, as it moves and drifts away from the anode, it's just following it at that same point.
I thought it was just slag when I first saw it. You know what I mean? And it stayed heated for some reason. It's not. There's something else going on.
Yeah, I really haven't. This is my first time seeing it, so I really haven't had a ton of analysis. Now, it's not coming up in the lens reflection.
You can see it in the top of the lens reflection, right by the.
Oh
anode
yeah,
itself.
yep, it's opposite. That's right. Okay.
So we'll
Yep,
play-
there it is. It's in the lens reflection. Yep,
Yeah.
it is.
Oh, it
Yes,
was
it
just
is.
weird that it
Clear as
moved.
day. I see it, and it's got its own. It's got its own orb. It is its own orb.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, we'll have to dive a little more into this one, man.
Well, regardless of the spin going on in the anode, when you create a second rotational spin on the outside just by moving the anode, then it's creating the spin in that secondary piece. It just moved it.
Yeah, it is. Right. It's in resonance with it.
Yeah, it's in lock.
It's in
Like
lock
crazy.
and resonance with it. Yeah. So it's probably getting all the ionotic energy that it needs to sustain by the relationship. Looking like.
That's so wild.
All right. Now, there is an important observation that you'll see in almost all of these videos, okay? And, it's apparent right now. You see how it's flickering? So it expands, and then you get the light coming out of it. But other than that, it's dark, if you notice. Like, the emission itself is very, very bright, but it's not really lighting up the whole area all the time, given how bright it is.
Okay, hold on. It just changed on us again, Joe.
Yeah, it's very, very small on my screen. So it starts out over there, huh?
Well, okay. I don't know if that's another point that's lighting up, or if this is all a camera trick, or what it is here. But it now looks like a big energy burst, like a sun, and then you see this out there with this little dot, and you could see a cloud of energy come out to it.
Well, that's consistent with something else that we're going to see. And you see that shape? Remember this shape, okay? You see the dot, and then you see the aura around the dot.
Mm-hmm.
And you see how it's elliptical like that? It's not round. You see how it's an ellipse?
Yeah, like an egg.
Right. So bear that shape in mind when we show the weird thing later.
Okay.
All right? That's for everybody.
This is weird on its own, man. I didn't realize
This is weird on its own, but I haven't had time to explore this video back and forth at my own leisure, and I'm just a little dumbfounded by the whole thing because that thing is far away at this point. It's far away. Now, I wonder if it draws closer and how it does that. It's clearly got a relationship.
That's why I was worried about a camera being the problem. You know what I mean? If it was doing something different, you're doing a reflection or something in it. So,
yeah. Well, you're going to see a lot of those points in a few of the videos, I think. But that's incredible. Nothing like this came up before.
Yeah. Let's just take a look at the rest, and then you got.
I want to see it form is what I want to see, but yeah.
Oh, okay. So bring it back to when it formed. Okay.
Yeah, please. Oh, that was a whole nother one out there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Is it something or is it just a camera trick? I can't tell.
Looks like we got Mercury and Pluto. Where's the rest?
Yeah, that's wild.
That's insane, man. I don't
It
know.
just,
Like, I mean, did Sean see this with his own eyes, or was it, or are we dealing with a lens issue?
well, this is all the lens doing the reflection in the back of it. That's for sure. Okay. Trying to catch it.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh, there it is.
So it's there before the main emission.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, the reflections there before. Yeah. And the little dot.
Yep.
They're both in the right position.
They are relative to and opposite of one another. They're absolutely. Wow, absolutely incredible. Look at the zoning on that, dude. You could see 4 petals of zoning there,
Yeah.
which makes total sense because that's exactly what's going to be explained when we look at my drawings. So there, those 4 sections you could see. It's almost I'm pointing at something that nobody could see, but it's yeah, they're there. Wild.
Yeah, Sean says they're too bright to watch.
Yeah, I was talking to him earlier, and I was suggesting, a welding mask, but maybe like they have different classifications. He's saying that a full blown welding mask is actually too dark. So he needs something that's in between sunglasses and a welding mask.
Dude, I had a stupid idea just come in my head, and it's really stupid. Remember those
Well,
old
here I
school,
am listening to you.
the blue blockers that they blocked out some kind of light, and then the other light that they let in so that you could see? It's like an 80s
Yeah, I mean,
thing.
I've suggested all sorts of different filters for this because a lot of the work that I'm doing on Sean's stuff right now is doing all the filtering after the fact. And a lot of this stuff is too overexposed, to really get to the bottom of.
Nice. Okay, I'm gonna hit play and then we'll get to your pictures, Joe.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah. So it zaps into existence.
Look at that. Hold on.
That is okay. Go back and freeze frame on that. So that's okay. Oh, you saw it. Hold on. Go back. That was it, man. You see the vortex. You see the vortex for a quick second.
Not right there. One
You,
right
you see
before
it start to hook in counterclockwise. A little bit back, slowly. Starting. It's like it happens so fast. But you could start to see it start to coalesce. It's pulling in from that left side into the center. And it got a spin vector ever so quickly. But that is it coming together. And that's how fast it happens. That's how fast the rotation axis collapses into the vortex, into the sphere. It's that fast. And you could see it happening right there.
It's like a in-between point of.
Absolutely. And look, you could see the vortex here. If you were to, you could see the haze on the outside. You see the billowing of the middle, and then it's coming in from our left, straight back to the right, and then, like that's what it's doing, and it's totally symmetrical. So look at how it is. It's absolutely symmetrical.
Nice.
This is critical to the understanding. Is that idea that it's totally symmetrical when it starts to come together, and that's symmetrical as well. This is it breaking up into its bits and pieces. And then boom. But right there, you can see that's when it gets that extra axis. That's when it goes from on the clay pot to up, lifting up.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to let me freeze frame this, but
I mean, you're not going to be able to get that particular exact frame, but that's what's happening.
yeah, that happened so fast.
It did, but there was one frame that you stopped on for a quick second that literally showed like a wall sucking up counterclockwise, and it was it's literally one frame. But anyway, this is stuff that we should do on our own time and share the results of. I feel like.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, it's wild what happens to the purple, and then it goes into, what is it, yellow or white? Probably looks white in person.
Yeah, so we'll get into explaining all that very shortly.
Okay. All right. There we go. All right. I'm going to pull up yours. Take me just a second here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if you're going to pull up that video that I put of all those pictures, right? Like just pause it on each and treat it like a slide, Yeah, because I can't go over it all in 5 seconds, each slide.
No, it's all good, Joe. Just give me a second. I'm pushing 100 buttons here, trying to get it there.
Mind you, I felt like the need to want to give a visual of this and what's going on. And I literally did this on my lunch, so forgive me. I have an abbreviated lunch on Fridays to begin with. So would you mind making that as big as possible, and I could just narrate it?
I think that's it. Let me see.
If we get rid of us? Okay, cool. All right. So anyway, I'll get started on this. So the first one here is just a quick diagram showing the water with the cathode and the ionized hydrogen, coming up from the water and exchanging through the clay. So the clay is moist, and the ionized hydrogen migrates into the porous structures of the clay. At the same time, you have the anode that's connecting with the electrolyte that Sean puts on. That's a saline solution. Okay, and the thank you, Ulysses. Big time thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. So Sean puts the electrolyte solution that starts the current coming from the anode onto the clay. Now, because the positive draws the negative out like a lightning bolt, okay, it draws that negatively charged hydrogen through the clay, and though it doesn't have a lot of penetration because of the insulating properties of the clay, the positive anode does heat up and have charge exchange with the ionized hydrogen in the porous top layers of the clay, which is the creation of the hydrogen component here. Now, the hydrogen in this case starts to accumulate. Now, as this is going on, the anode itself is picking up its own plasma, through its arcing, and that's just mostly going to be oxygen and nitrogen plasma. Okay, and as soon as the densities of the hydrogen and the oxygen nitrogen plasmas are built, okay, the offset differential changes, and it starts to pull the hydrogen plasma out of the clay. And then it starts, because they're pushing together, but they're also attracting, there becomes like this, charge vector that occurs, okay, where it's both pushing on each other and pulling on each other simultaneously, okay, and that starts the rotation, Okay, so once that rotation occurs, now the zoning kind of falls more into place. And this is when you start to see the different plasmas and different energies separating and zoning out. As soon as those densities get high enough, okay, and the offset differential of the anionic energy starts to reach a certain point, that's when the spin vector starts to come in and it'll fall into a vortex. Now, as soon as it falls into a vortex, what ends up happening is the top and bottom of the vortex end up getting pinched because they create the third vector, which collapses and forms in the middle. Then what happens is you had two counter-rotational forces that were parallel to each other. Once that third axis forms, they actually split out 45 degrees with the third vector axis in the center being the toroidal vector. Oh, I skipped ahead. We never moved slides. Anyway, so this is the point. I'm fucking terrible at this. Yeah, so all right. So this in this one you could see the hydrogen plasma forming under the surface, like I was describing. The anionic plasma arcing out, and then it start this push-pull effect. Next slide. Yep. So now this push-pull effect is exactly where it's at, where the hydrogen plasma is actually being pulled out of the clay and sort of around the anode arc, while the plasma itself starts to kind of drape over it. Okay, like the anionic plasma starts to drape over the hydrogen plasma. Okay, you can go to the next one now. Yeah, so now this is the counter rotation and the pulling force that I was talking about that starts to create the vortex. So as soon as you start getting more and more of this pull force out of the hydrogen, again the differentials change. There's more of an interaction between the vectors that we're pushing against each other, trying to meet, but they're ultimately like deflected in a counter rotational force, and that is what creates the magnetic element of this. Okay, you go to the next one now. Yeah, so now if you look at the top one, that's when it forms, and this is ever so brief, and we just saw a picture of this. So this is the when it goes into a vortex, you start to get that effect where it starts like sheathing, right? So you start to see it cup and sheath. What do they call that? Like a parabola, right? So that's the beginning of the vortex, is when it goes into this parabola form. It brings up in dimension, wraps around, and as soon as that happens, go to the next slide. Yeah, cool. So as soon as that happens, like I said, you start having these. Oh, we went a little too far. That's okay. We're back at the beginning. Anyway, you start having those counter rotational forces, like I said, change their angle of interaction to accommodate for the symmetry of the third vector in the center. Now that third vector is very interesting in this case, okay, because as it builds, once it's formed, okay, and it starts to sustain, the inner torsion and the outer torsion, okay, are counter rotational. Okay, it's basically like it's kind of rolling inside of the other. Okay, so what this ends up doing is creating like ionic exchange between the greater bias of the anionic plasma, and it starts ripping electrons from the hydrogen. Now, if you don't refresh your hydrogen, if you don't have a way to get more hydrogen into the center of this, ultimately, like it will kind of fail to coalesce at some point in time. And that's sort of where it's at. So there's got to be a way that you have to continue to provide fresh hydrogen to it, because if it just fizzles out, then it kind of fizzles out too. And that's sort of where it's at now. I mean, what occurs when we start stripping the electrons from hydrogen at that point? I mean, you tell me. Yeah. So, and then that's what you end up with, right? Is you end up with basically it's kind of like the Earth in a way. You end up with a central equatorial plane. You end up with a variable pole. Now, it's not necessarily fixed polar like that. There's a certain chase element of this that goes on, in my opinion, as far as the polarity goes. Okay, but you end up with the magnetic component that's toroidal in its nature, which is that center axis. So that ultimately creates hemispheres, and then your hemispheres have their own internal structures of eddy currents and so on and so forth that create exchanges between the positive and negative plasmas that are contained within. It goes into a state of compression and decompression at that point, which is why you see it actually squeezing and then expanding. And if you notice, when it expands is when the light emission occurs. That's when it's at its leakiest. When it's in a state of compression, it doesn't really let much out. But as it starts to expand, it does allow for a greater emission. And that's why you actually see the flashes of light and the absurd absence of light in the immediate area, despite this seemingly large light emission. So bright you can't look at it, but it's not overexposing the environment around it. Think about that for a second, right? The light bulb doesn't light when it's in the state of compression. That's sort of what you have to realize here. So, and that's sort of what I believe is kind of going on here. And I'm sure there's more to it that we've discussed, but at the same time, I think that probably suffices for now.
You're wondering where I went, Joe. I disappeared.
Yeah,
That was
where'd you
awesome,
go?
man.
Were you playing with the plasma? Did you make like the string?
No.
Did you make like the string?
Dude, that string's wild.
Dude, that string. There's something weird, like off-putting about that string, man.
Yeah, let me get the video real quick and I'll download it so I can just pull the whole thing up.
Cool.
Just take me a second.
I put it on my YouTube if that helps.
No, I got it.
All right. So this is borderline paranormal, what I found here. You be the judge.
Look at the bottom right-hand corner and you'll see a little string.
And the string shakes and dances around and then jumps back in. And so you get this plasma burst, and it's an asymmetric geometrical plasma burst. Okay? There it is. All right. An asymmetric geometric plasma burst. And then this string just jumps out and it's wiggling and then it zips right back in. And when it zips back in, before it does that, it like dissipates into like an apparition. It's the strangest thing. And then boop, it's like exactly like you would expect. You know what I mean? Like the flash and something just appears out of it. Like what?
Yeah, I don't know what that's about, man.
Well,
Because you would think it's just like a hair or something on the side, and then it came off. But why is it attracted to it? And why is it going right around it? And why is it reacting by bursting energy?
so no, okay. So by the way, the burst of energy is first. Okay. So you get the plasma burst first. it jumps out and then it jumps back in, and then you get like this little secondary flash that's in the same exact, yeah, you see it there for a second. It's in that same exact type of parabolic shape as the other thing that I pointed out.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like paranormal stuff right here. That's like the freaky string in the experiment.
I'm telling you, man.
Let's see if we can't stop it at some point. Okay, we got it.
I mean, I took a few screenshots that I sent you, but like,
See, that's where it hits.
yeah. So you see that little tiny node at the top, that little dot that's top right of the RAV.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it jumps out of. Is like that little spot right there in between where those two plasma bits are going like that, or whatever.
Yeah, that's wow.
It's like flash it into our dimension. Why don't you?
Yeah, because it comes out of nowhere. Somebody says it's a little sperm
Well, you could,
coming out.
but the thing is right. So you could see it emerging and then jumping back in is the thing, and it doesn't not. It hangs around for more than a little. Like it's there for 1 second.
Well, see, because now it's not even formed yet, and then now it jumped.
No, it jumped. Okay.
Okay, hold on.
Okay. No. So now it's not formed yet.
Trying to.
Now it jumped out. You see it jumping out. There it is.
Wow.
Flash jumps out, jumps back in, and then other little flash, parabolic flash, in the opposite direction. Now, what's important to note here is that this experiment was done in a counter-rotational magnetic field. So, you know, like, that might say something.
Huh.
And pumping things out of, like, into this dimension, or out of, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh, you never know. It could be.
I
Look
don't
at
know,
that.
man.
You got like a laser shooting out of both sides, Joe.
That's what I was saying, man. Like, I sent you that picture where I was like, look at all the bullshit going on in this picture. I was like, dude, you straight up have a Kashmir effect shooting out of the transaxial plane of the anode and cathode.
Well, hold on. Let's play this a little bit because I got to see when it forms and then where it goes. Because it. Oh, we don't get to see when it started. Okay. On this one. So it's been there the whole time this thing's running. That's
It's like a little
wild.
parasite that jumped out of the astral realm, man. Like, I don't know.
Trying to concentrate on that the laser thing. So hold on.
Well, you could see the blast from when it jumped back in. You see that whole entire like parabolic like oval thing going on there. Like it's like it like swishes around like a Dorito, a Pringle. You know?
Yeah, it looks like hair.
It does, but it's a dancing hair.
Why is it attracted to the ball? That's what I don't understand.
How did it pop out of the ball?
Yeah, like what the heck's going on here, man?
Yo, it popped out of the ball like a fucking ghost. You could see it jumping out of the ball like a ghost, bro. Right after the huge plasma flash.
I have nightmares of it.
Like I said, man, it's like it's a little strange. And that thing doesn't look like light. That looks solid.
No, dude, it's most likely a hair. I just don't understand why it's attracted to the ball. Is there gravity in the ball? Is that what it is? It just sucks things in?
Are we suggesting that a hair was ejected from the ball and then sucked back into the ball, and the ball that burns clay doesn't burn the hair when you
No.
burn your hair with a hair dryer?
I think something's going on with this video. I don't think it pops back in there at all.
It does pop back in there, man. Like I saw, like this. It does.
You sure this thing isn't being fast forward and rewound as it's
I
playing?
am fast forwarding and rewinding it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that when the flash, this is it right now. What you're seeing, you saw it jump back in, didn't you?
Yeah, but is that part of it rewinding?
No, that's what I'm
Where's the
saying.
original
You get
footage
the
of it?
parabolic flash at the end when it jumps back in.
Yeah, but where's the original
Okay,
footage? of
I
it?
have the original video. If you want, I'll send it to you. You just
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
this exact spot.
Because something's wrong here.
Nothing's wrong. We could do it live. Let me send you the whole video.
Okay. Wow. It's cool. Let's take a look, man. We got some other ones going on. Hold on, maybe is it this one? That might be the video. That's the one you sent me. Okay. Hold on.
All right. So
Go
yeah, I
ahead.
just sent you another one. That's
sent me
the
another
whole
one?
unedited one. That's the one Sean sent me. So it's at like, I don't know, it's like at like 18, 19 seconds.
Yeah, just give me a second. I got it.
No. There it is.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
Boom. Flew in, flew out.
That's wild. Okay, let's see if we can't get to that point. Ooh. Was that a spark over before it happened? Hold on.
Yeah, well, we saw the spark over, remember?
Yeah, but that is
That was that
actually-
huge plasma discharge.
No. Did it strike it? Okay, hold on.
Now you understand why I did the whole
Dude, that was a plasma discharge right there. That was a like a lightning bolt hit it, and then something came out. Dude,
yeah, it
that's
took
wild.
me like a lot of like very careful slow scrolling to get what I showed you. That's why I did it that way and recorded it like that.
But it's missing that that spark.
Yeah.
Oh, you see it coming out of there. It hit that, and that's mass.
It looks
Well-
like math, right?
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out if the spark hit it and dislodged something on the outside. You know what I mean? Or is it creating something? So
But it sucks back in. Watch.
it hit, it appeared. Now it's gone.
You have to take it like almost frame by frame to get what I was showing.
Oh, I know.
Okay. So you start to get it. Look at that. It almost goes out. Oh. What the hell? Oh, it was
It
going out.
started
That's why
over.
you restarted it. Okay.
Yeah, that's not a hair. That rules
No,
that out.
it's ejecta, and you could see the spot that it comes from.
Yeah.
And the spot that it comes from is exactly like the spot that's zoned out, where that bolt comes from. The thing just blasts into existence and then decides it wants out, and then like etherically just jumps back into the frigging plasma hole and then goes whoosh, and that's it.
Man, it's a strange video. Yeah, because it definitely came from the lightning bolt, you know, or excuse me, the energy, however you want to say it, the discharge.
Now I have other videos of where I've screenshot, plasma ejecta, and it's in one frame, it's zipping out, but you could see it zipping out and it doesn't come back. And it looked nothing like that. That's for damn sure. That thing's helical. You could see the helical nature of it.
It just looks like a string.
Yeah, a string, a wiggling string, Nathan.
Oh, well, who'd have known?
I know. A wiggling string that was ejected out of a compressed ball.
Yeah, it just, boom. Sorry, I saw something in here. I just want to go a little bit over this. Watch this. The shadow pulls right back into it. You see that? That's kind of freaky in itself. There's a reflection, and then as it dies out, it pulls back into it, like it was its ghost or something.
I'm telling you, man, like something about this counter-rotational magnetism and this situation is really, really unusual. First of all, it forms very, very quickly counter-rotationally and doesn't really form at all clockwise. And I mean that makes sense with when you look at the theory that we just discussed. But look at the sectioning on this. It's very, very interesting. Couple key points here. You see where all those trace lines are currently? If you play it, you'll notice that those are constants. Okay, they're like almost always going and zoning in that way. And then you actually have all of these little tiny spots that are hyperluminated along the surface. But when the pot's lit up, you don't see any of those spots.
No. Yeah, you see them everywhere in this thing.
Yeah, but if you just let it play, you see these two main zones at just like around 12 o'clock and right around 6 o'clock. Like that's where the energy is just constantly, and you'll see if you just let it play.
No, hold on. But look right here. You see the tip, you see the ball, you see a ring around it.
Yes, you do.
I'm just
because the magnetism's forcing that. It's forcing it.
Well, it's creating. I bet you it's going to form right now. Right as soon as we saw this, I bet you it forms right after. This is like the moment it allowed the electricity to build the magnetic field.
Yep, and you can see it's like in a twisted six. It's in a hurricane situation right now because you see how it is. It's going that way, but it's also going this way. It's full blown rotational, but that would imply that it's actually clockwise at that point. It's strange. I don't know.
Well, let's play a little bit.
No, it wouldn't. Never mind.
I just want to see if it forms real quick. And
Yeah, do it up.
I'll go back and we'll play it from the beginning. So.
Yeah, it does. It's forming.
Well, it's forming, but it wasn't.
Forming.
There it is. There's its form. It just stops spraying and goes into a nice rotation. And that laser looking thing comes out of both sides the entire time as soon as it forms.
As soon as it forms. And look, when it flashes out, it's almost parallel with that, huh?
Yeah.
And then when it flashed out the last time, it was parallel to that and zoned off to the right as well. That's because all of this works in sectors and equilibriums like that.
All right, we'll play it from the beginning. But you can see all the little sparklies everywhere.
You're right, the sparklies, but also these like the tendrils. They look like they're following very definite repeating lines here. If you look,
it looks like you're building flowers, like literally flower on top of flower, like a lily pad or something like that, or something.
Well, this is it. I see that, right? But this is it starting to zone. And this is the push, the pull, and then it happens.
That freaks me out. That little dots there in every single picture in the same spot.
I know.
We were watching a total different video, man, and it had the same thing.
Same thing. Oh, there was this thing that popped out.
Dude, it's freaky. It's. Oh, there it goes.
It never gets old, man. It's like
Oh my god, dude! It's like paranormal, man. It's awesome,
Bro, it didn't matter, and it was wiggling around, and it's like, oh, wrong dimension.
dude. We gotta get Sean some kind of slow motion camera for that, man, because I want to see that little wiggly do that again. You know what I mean? Just some of this stuff, like how it went around in that big, shape already before it formed. That was awesome, man. It was like
Yeah,
you
I
knew
mean, you
you were
saw that
trying.
plasmatic eject I sent you, man. Like that thing was crazy too. You literally saw it collapse and then spit out the plasma ball, and it was literally. You want to talk about like a matter beam or whatever? Like that's what it was doing, man. Like it was crazy.
Okay, hold on. Did it grab that small piece? That small piece formed before it started the big rotation in the center, and it grabbed it and pulled some of the plasma. So that's what I'm wondering.
Mm-hmm.
So we can see it right there. That small piece is already forming.
Yeah, I see that. Right. It's
Okay.
just there, and it's forming right now.
Yeah, it's there. So now let's see if we can find that other spot again. Boom.
You know, if he's hitting the same spot over and over again, it's possible that there's a cavity inducing a secondary rotational force as the energy is building up. You know, that's allowing that to occur. Sort of like how a plasmoid can burrow into something and form and keep charge much longer if it's in that little pock. But then it has to hold its relationship to that which it's feeding off of. So, anytime it moves, that moves too. But the formation,
It's catching it right there.
yeah, I can see it.
It's locked onto that little spot, and it's allowing it to rotate onto it. That's wild. It's like it's trying to grab anything, and then when it does, it forces it to swirl. I'm not so sure that doesn't have to be there every time to get it to start.
I don't know. I mean, we're noticing it, but there's other videos I didn't see it at all.
Oh, we'll have to check. Now that we know that something strange is going on, we'll just keep checking. That's okay. Sean sent us a bunch of videos.
Yes, he did. So there was one that I think, in my opinion, is further proof of concept. And he sent us one where he was hitting a Himalayan salt crystal. Yep. Okay. So it's interesting. I'll tell you what he said after we watch it.
Dude, hold on. It forms, and look at that. it forms in there, but it looks like the energy's going through the cracks in the crystal.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay, so this is interesting because, in my opinion, this is similar but not the same, and it's an important differentiation. Okay, so those Himalayan salt rocks like that, they're considered like they sell them as like ionized salt crystals, because what makes them pink is ionized iron oxide within it. Now, these oxides play a huge role, which is why the terracotta is going to be superior to a white ceramic, in the other context. Okay. But here's the difference. Okay. Even with the cathode attached to it, where it is getting the negative charge and ionizing, okay, it's that ionization potential that's ultimately the mechanism of forming the ball here. Now, if you notice, it formed under different circumstances. It had to find like that pocket, like I was describing in the other situation, in order to really kind of get into formation and condense. But Sean said something very important and interesting. He said that it was much brighter and bigger. And I said, well, it's not necessarily a good sign. And here's my 2 cents on that. Well, we know when we see the light in the other reaction, right? Now, the light in the other reaction is in the state of decompression. Okay, so this is in a much less condensed state, and it's holding in a less condensed state. So the emission off of it is a lot greater. And if you notice, there's a significant color difference. The reason for that is because you're not making it like the hydrogen potentials aren't there in this because of the difference in the substrate. Mind you that clay is literally a membrane. It's letting certain things through and not allowing full penetration of other things. It's keeping the negative and positive apart from completing a circuit, but it's allowing for the draw and the exchange of the ions and the energy, and the gases. This isn't doing any of that. So what you're getting there is like nitrogen, primarily nitrogen plasma that's being stabilized by virtue of geometry and the ionization of the iron oxide side of the salt crystal. So it's a different phenomenon.
Yeah, well, the clay is a diode. It allows it to come through, but won't allow it to go back.
Exactly.
This is different. This digs in right away. You'll see it on the other one that we'll show in a minute. These things dig in right away to the crystal.
Well, he's also soaking it in water, so the entire thing is acting as an electrolyte.
Yeah.
So you're going to get a certain amount of water penetration into that. That's just simply going to act as a conductor.
Yeah. It sits in that little cavity, it looks like.
And that's what I was saying. Yeah, it's like in the cavity because but it's weird because it has like, I don't want to say living properties, but there's a certain like I've heard it said before, like there's a certain degree of intelligence or something. Like I don't know if intelligence is the right word.
I don't know. Hold on, I don't know that it's forming correctly. Like right there, it's starting to form correctly, but I don't think it's doing the right thing.
No, it's not, because it's searching for a place to hide. I know that's ridiculous, but it's in an unstable state. It wants to go into a stable state. It's looking for a place to get into a stable state, and it keeps on just kind of poking around until it tries to find one. And then once it kind of starts to like settle down and grow a little bit, it'll stay there until it starts to destabilize, because this is not a stable reaction like the other.
No, not at all. The other one was very stable. All right, let's pull the other one real quick. Okay.
I'm missing the chat because we're watching these videos, so I apologize, because I'm sure you guys are probably going off on this. Yes, you are. Sorry.
So you see, you cut it flat there.
Yeah.
Real clear. Dude, it just looks like a total different color. And it could be reflection from the salt itself. But you can see it digging. Look at it. It's digging. It's a perfect circle, though. Look at this. I don't think I could draw a circle that good.
No, probably not.
Most people can't. Nature's like that.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a totally different phenomenon.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's a different material, so different
Yeah,
reactions.
so,
That should be
right. Entirely different properties.
Yeah. That's just wild.
I mean, it's cool to see, but yeah, it's like I said, it's
All right, we got another one. Hold on. So
Yeah. And I know Sean said the other day that he was able to induce an unstable but small RAV reaction with baby oil, mineral oil, whatever. Right.
he's got baby oil. You guys got something going on I don't know about, or what?
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, we had what do they call them? A freak off. That's what we did.
Oh man, Diddy working with Sean.
I didn't see any of the granite ones yet. He's skipping ahead on us.
Sorry, I'll start from the beginning. He said he soaked this thing for quite a while. Man, it just sucks up all that water. And you see the end of it wanting to form. He's got voltage in all the cracks.
Yeah. I mean, I think that even though granite is porous, I think there's a portion of it. Yeah, I mean, it's failing to condense. All right, we've got to play more with that, but
I don't think it's dried out. I think there's too much water. It's cool to look at, though. I bet you if you turned off the lights, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you could see the different zones kind of lighting up there, but it's not.
No, it's just the porous nature of the granite. It's in between the cracks.
For sure. Oh, it's tunnel. Right.
Plasma usually doesn't form unless in that type of area. You need a little bit of water there. I don't think it's dried out. I think he's got too much water in the sample to form the RAV.
It is doing some very cool tunneling situations, though. But the granitic structure, where it's quartz and feldspar kind of like intermingling with each other. A lot of those crystal formations could be pretty large. So I think with RAV, the beauty of it is being able to bring it up in a even form, which is what the clay provides. And I think ceramics are always going to kind of be ideal for that because of just the nature of how ceramic is, that it's wet, it dries, it's fired, and those everywhere where the water is, in that matrix, more or less dries and then expands in firing. And it's still very, very, very small as far as the pore structure, but at the same time, it's consistent because it's everywhere throughout the entire material that's being created. And
And I think that that's one of those critical aspects that allow it to be like a consistent sponge with that allows for uh, even energy dispersal, because the concentrations of energy that you need in to form it, you know, need to be kind of like that in a concentrated and consistent way. If it's coming in different rates from different areas because of different crystal structure sizes and stuff that are intermingling with each other, I don't know that it would be as efficient to create in that case. Now, that said, I think terracotta in itself is a dope ceramic with the iron oxide. Okay, but I think that there probably could be better combinations
Hmm.
out there as far as ceramic materials are concerned that you could probably just mix up yourself and pour and do whatever you want if you just got a kiln, right? That's
No, it probably is, Joe. I'm actually fascinated because he's been beating this one spot for a while. It looks like. Oh, look at that. There
Yeah.
looks like two right there.
yeah, they're like mirrored images of each other, huh?
That's wild.
Cool.
Ooh.
What's interesting is that these types of voltages, and then the interaction with matter with the current in the plasma, you start to realize very quickly how that energy flow really is it acts like something molten is what it does. It starts to act like a molten liquid.
Yeah, it looks like it's okay. Watch. Here it is. Single state. It then goes to a dual state. Like, okay, this reminds me of cell division.
Mm-hmm.
So as you see it, it divides completely,
Breaks.
and then it drops it out,
Yes, it
and
does.
then it becomes that little spot as soon as the ball is formed. That little spot we always see?
You caught it.
That's
You caught it.
insane.
It split. Now, do you remember what I said about it mirroring itself, flipping out to create the stability?
Uh-huh.
I guess that's sort of what it is. I guess that's sort of what that is, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just doing it. It's just doing it again and again. And sometimes, like to reach the equilibrium, it'll pinch it off.
Huh. Dude, that's wild. Because we just see it clear as day.
And it stays. That's the thing. It stays.
Oh yeah, it's still powered. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I went back too far.
Yeah.
But you could see it. There's two there. It splits off. Okay. And do they coalesce again? No, they're still split. And then, ooh, it's like, okay, it's set and then the voltage came back to it. Did you see that?
Yep.
Okay.
And now you get a flash, so you know it's in a state of decompression.
Yeah, so it's dropping something out and then pulls away, pulls back to it.
Oh, dude. It's like a ghost of itself. That is insane. It immediately reminds me of what I was saying about the all then splitting into two mirrored parts of itself, like one physical and one kind of light, so to speak. And then but the two are immediately related to one another.
Uh-huh.
You know?
That's wild, man.
Yeah, that is insane. Can't make this stuff up, man. And there it
No.
goes. It's like, okay, now recoalesce. and it really coalesces.
No, I think they're separate at this point.
They are. Yep. And then look, hold on. Look at the color gradients here. This is pause and probably screenshot. Okay. In fact, I will. Hang on. Okay. Very important. Pink, yellow, purple. Okay. Those are the exact plasma colors of exactly what I've been describing. The pink is your hydrogen. Okay. And then the yellow purple is your oxygen nitrogen. Okay. But right now you see it in a state of diffusion because it was in a state of expanse after this event that occurred. So it's probably going to suck right back up into it is what you're going to see. If you press play, I bet that's what's going to happen. Stabilize. It's separating it more. It's still zoning it out. It was still zoning it. But those are the colors that we would expect to see, and that's exactly it. Sean says I can see the triangle wave when the RAV starts spinning, but only on the O-scope screen.
Yeah, it pushed it out. Watch. So there it is. And it's just going to start pushing it. That's interesting.
It is, but since the other one wasn't formed yet, it's not locked. Now it locked. Look, there it goes, and then it went away.
Yeah.
But it locked. It moved. It kept the equiposition. Started to go around it, then dissipated. Right, and where did it go? Went right into the cathode. Crazy.
Wow.
But look at the colors is the point, man. These are the colors you want to see because these are all the different elemental plasmas that are coming into play here, and it's still reaching stability.
Yeah.
And it's all zoned, man. This is like what Sheila was talking about with the multi-gas plasmas and how it structures.
Oh, yeah.
When it's all in the same tube.
I mean, just imagine this little tiny experiment, man, showing us a whole lot.
There it goes.
Yeah. And then it stops.
I mean, that piece of pot that he's running this thing on is absolutely tanked, man.
Yeah, it goes right there. And oh, you know what you just saw right there? Hold on.
Hold on, it's splitting again.
No, I understand that. But you just saw the energy itself. This is why Sean's light wouldn't work next to it. The energy went from everywhere out there and then to nowhere.
Right.
So here it is. There's all the energy around it. And then as soon as it forms, the energy on the outside cuts.
There's a weird aura thing going on, like while that was forming. You see that?
Yeah.
That's strange, man. That's like a whole other topic for another day, I suppose.
He basically went from a pulse to an impulse.
Uh-huh.
He changed it right there. Okay. Pushing out. Now it's sucked it in.
That's it. That's exactly what I was saying on my silly little drawings that I was showing. It's in the charge state, separation state, then the push-pull, equilibrium, magnetic field forms compression, and there you go.
As soon as it pulled, man, it got brighter and bigger.
So where does this go? How do you use it? Right? That's something that, like, what next steps are on this. And this is what I proposed, right? I proposed that one of the main limiting factors here, okay, is the fact that the open cathode water, okay, is actually leading to a very high loss of the hydrogen potential. Okay, so I feel like if you were to seal off the water, and then have it run cathodically, that the hydrogen will build. Okay, and then once that pull comes in, it will start pulling all of that hydrogen directly through the clay that acts as the membrane. Okay, which would limit the amount of water that could go into it to make it fail. Okay, and keep the hydrogen plasma fed, because what ends up happening when it goes into its stable form, okay, where you have those two beams of light coming out of it, like, and all that sort of fun stuff too, right?
Mm-hmm.
The nature of that third vector is that it adds as a feed. Okay, there's an offset differential and a bias that exists between the anode and the cathode. The anode is much more energetic and provides a lot more energy to this reaction than the cathode does. But the cathode is critical to the differential. That's the cause of it. You have a matter bias differential, and then you have a charge bias differential. And then once you put those into a vector of motion, you have 1, 2, 3. We know how that plays out. We see it, talk about it, right? So once it goes into its toroidal form, okay, it goes into a counter feed situation. What I mean by that is that the only way that the center hydrogen plasma that's compressed in the middle is able to take in new hydrogen is through that third vector, because that is a fourth dimensional vector, okay, that actually has the ability to bring the the ionized hydrogen through that more powerful outer shell, because without it, it can't get through. The same as nothing get out, nothing's getting through. Okay, so it has to go feed through the bottom. Now it comes out the top. Now what that does is it comes out the top and it actually ends up feeding the anode. Okay, because the anode wants to make the connection, and without that connection, it becomes overpowered. So that's keeping the yin yang going, is this reverse feed. Now, the ironic part is that the anodic flow that also goes through it gets just kind of dispersed out in a diffuse state. Okay, but that doesn't really matter all that much. It's more just simply about feeding the hydrogen so the hydrogen doesn't deplete. So closing off the cell and then having that pull effect actually bring the more hydrogen through the membrane via the what's happening in the water in the cathode side is kind of critical to building it bigger, also to keeping it going at a full intensity.
Yeah, it looked like he can sustain this thing for as long as he wanted to, Joe, and it looked like that it stopped pulling from the cathode side as soon as it started to sustain itself.
Mhm.
I think what you're getting at, and I think this is where we always get lost together. I think you're building something bigger than what it is. What it is can self-sustain just as long as the energy's on.
Well, I mean, it tends to be about, like, I know we've talked about the recycling element of it. And, it's not that doesn't exist. I believe that it does. But the idea here is it's not very useful at its current size. It's
No,
not.
it's not. It's not anything about it being useful. No. You're right. If you want it to be useful and you want it in a reactor, you would have to continue to put hydrogen in there and a
Yeah.
little bit more energy.
Yep.
You know what I mean, to get it to build bigger. Absolutely. There's no question
Yep.
about that.
Yeah,
But
it would have to just, and then when it is bigger, that everything goes up in orders of magnitude. So it chews more hydrogen. You have more hydrogen lost. You need to feed it more to be able to get it to sustain at that point. So it's not a small scale issue as much as it is probably a larger scale issue. And it does lose stability as it goes. So, like I'm sure it can, sustain to a certain degree, but it starts doing that wiggle dance and stuff like that. After you see when it first forms, it's a rock solid ball. But what it does is it acts like anything that you spin really really fast, right? It always will. It'll kind of, if it once it gets stable, it's spinning fast. It'll stay in one spot. As soon as it starts to slow down, well, it starts to wander because that rotational energy is not enough to overcome the friction or whatever is going on in that particular case. But it's the same sort of deal here. The offset biases get, the differentials change, and then all of a sudden it starts to shift around and move. So you need to maintain that steady differential in order not to have the loss that causes the movement. You don't want it wandering off from the anode, unless if it's wandering off from the anode in some kind of regular pattern. Like if it starts going like this, well, that's better because we all know if something's spinning that's also orbiting around like that too. One hand feeds the other. And that's okay, but that's not what it's doing. So
yeah, it might be coalescing mass as it eats the clay itself. Hang on a minute, Joe. I didn't get to say this earlier. Ulysses, thank you very much, brother. You're so awesome, my friend. Darren just gifted 5 membership, man. Congratulations to the folks who got it, man. Awesome. Totally
thanks,
cool.
dude. Much appreciated.
Totally awesome. Yeah, I think there might be something going on there because there's got to be some kind of exchange. If it's trying to eat the clay, like Sean says, and leaves those little divots, and then it's depositing something on them, you know what I mean? You might have some kind of mass reaction going on where it's pulling in different things and then transmutating them something else and depositing them back on the surface.
Well, you got to remember that the terracotta has an iron oxide element to it. Okay, and the iron is easily ionized. And then you're exposing it to a great deal of heat after the ionization. So the reality of it is that even if the ball doesn't come into contact with that much iron oxide in the surface area of the clay that it's affecting, because of the ionization, it has the ability to pull the iron oxide out in an ionized form of the lattice.
Oh, because of the water?
And coalesce it. Not because of the water necessarily, as much as just the fact that you're creating an ionized state and then a high temperature with an ionic draw, which is the whole point of what we've been talking about. It's the lightning bolt effect where it pulls the tendril from the earth before it connects, right? So it's pulling the ionization from there. So it's getting a lot of hydrogen, but it could also be getting iron oxide ionization in there as well, which when in contact with that much heat, could likely be coalescing in a higher concentration. But here's the one thing about it. You said about transmutation. It's possible that it does transmute because of the effect going on. Anytime you have ionized hydrogen, and it's, wiggly valence electron that just likes to, get dislodged, it's happening to, a greater or lesser degree in the reaction as it is. If some of those free electrons sit there and decide to make its way over to the ionized iron at that point, there could be transmutation. So it's not out of the question. But I think it's more likely that it's probably just iron, like small iron deposits and higher concentration than you would expect based on because of what I just said.
Okay. Well, it could be. You won't know until you test it. I
Yeah.
I wanted to throw in, guys, 5 more memberships for me to you guys, man.
Awesome, dude.
So just so you guys know, I put all Sean's little short videos on the members side. So anytime you want to check any one of them out and slow mo it yourself or whatever, it's all on there for you. So for those people who just got the memberships, man, check all that stuff out, dude. That stuff is wild. Okay. So that's why I want to make sure we get memberships out there, man, so people could see this stuff, play it again, get their own decisions. You know, I always read every comment. So yeah, this is something that's going to be studied for a little bit, man. And there's also some other stuff that goes on here, man. When you start dealing with the sun, Joe.
Oh yeah.
We were watching a video on this, man, and how it works, and it's close. You know what I mean? Who knows if it's the same thing, but it's getting close, man.
Well, I was talking about an alternative theory of the sun, but I saw it and I saw the parallels to this immediately. But then I realized something. I don't believe that about what they were saying about the sun. I don't believe that. Okay. How they were saying that, it's basically anode dependent, and all this sort of stuff. And I don't buy that. What I do buy, however, okay, is that that's probably how it formed. Like that's the part that I buy. Right now we're at like a forming state. Like this is oh look, there it is. Cool. Now what? So obviously the sun is a little bit different in that regard. But it's hard to say, man. Like who the hell knows about that really? Because anybody that claims to is fucking fooling themselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, who knows? No, I think there's a difference though in the energy in space and the energy where we sit right now, and
Oh
even
yeah.
in Sean's area. So it may have a better field to hold it in, or whatever you want to call that, a better zone. You know what I mean? To hold in the energy, and it could have just been some kind of reaction that started, and then it immediately, because you saw how fast this stuff goes, it immediately pulled in a secondary reaction and then split. How do we know something didn't do that in the beginning inside? You know what I mean? When the sun's formed, that might be the whole reason it works. And then it's just a hydrogen out, and it builds something different, breaks apart, and comes back in as hydrogen, and there's a recycling. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a certain degree of recycling that occurs, but even that video said, okay, that the anodic energy, okay, that would be causal of the formation and the keeping it going. Um, it depends on a certain feed of electrons stripped from the hydrogen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
So there's a feed, and that's a loss.
unless, and I throw this out there for you, resonance does create plasma. In certain situations, and depending on how much it is, it'll create plasma. And that could have been your initial reaction. Something came together and resonated together, and you got a plasma strike. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you got things coalescing. Who knows how it built out, man? I don't think that the structure built in the sun's the same as the structure built in the earth. They're probably totally different. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, there's something going on there a little more. I do want to go to part of that video, Joe.
Sure.
Only because there was one part that stuck out to me. And let me see. Let's see if this is it.
It's German.
Oh, sorry. I'll take out that closed caption. Let's see if it's right here. See how it builds out? It immediately built that out. And then it builds out a layer that's opposite to it to hold it in. is what it'll do here in a little bit.
Which we saw. That was that whole sheet wrapping around it.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing, kind of like he had in this video. And they were talking about in this video the anode and cathode reactions in, you know what I mean? That's kind of the same thing. That's why it was important. You see, it just pulls everything into it. That's like your hydrogen right there. It just yanks everything in. Let me see if they show that other layer. There they go. What is it, Sapphire Project?
Right. So here's the weird thing and the problem with Sapphire Project.
Okay, hold on. See the blue?
Uh-huh.
You had the red, which is the positive, and you had the blue, which is the negative. So what they're trying to tell you in this, and it's a TUFT, okay, anode TUFT, if you want to look it up.
Yeah, tough plasma.
So what I'm trying to say is that opposite or inverse effect that holds it in. And in space, it may be able to hold it in a lot better, though there's still stuff coming off of the sun to this day. You know what I mean? That's what I was trying to say, because it works the same way when you start building these things out in different devices. So I'll leave it at that, but there's more there.
So, like how Sapphire generally, forms theirs, and why it's so different from this. Okay, and why, by the way, many people say that that's fake. I don't care whether it's real or fake. It doesn't even matter. It's secondary to the idea. Sapphire, right? Why this is what we're talking about is more incredible than that by far. Okay,
Okay.
is that they felt that the way to extract the energy was to have the cathodic hydrogen reaction, which they intelligently use like nickel or whatever, a nickel sphere, okay, which draws in the hydrogen. All right, but then they have to be able to pump the hydrogen, to be able to feed it. Okay, and the way that they do it, since it's around this sphere, is wildly volatile, and therefore can only be done under vacuum and in the presence of other gases. And then they have to use external fields to try to compress it because of how they're trying to extract the energy from the reaction. At least so the concept goes, but because they're using a conductive surface more or less to stage the reaction, they're kind of able to extract it because of that idea. Okay, that with the conductive surface that they're putting the reaction on. All right, there's so many problems with all of this. Okay, and the reason that they have to do it in a vacuum is because of how they're creating the plasma. They would combust the plasma if it was atmospheric. Combust the hydrogen. It would never turn into a plasma. You can never get enough energy or differential into it. So why the hell does this work then? Well, it works because it's forming in the clay, which is in a vacuum state for all intents and purposes. It's not direct exposure to the air. It's being exposed to the energy, positive, negative differential, and the high heat required to bring it into the plasmatic state without the combustion risk because of the insulative properties and the porous nature of the clay that's acting as a membrane. Okay, so it doesn't ignite the hydrogen under those circumstances, so you don't need to worry about having it in a vacuum circumstance. And it's seeming that the atmospheric makeup of just nitrogen and oxygen is sufficient as an anodic plasmatic, isolator to compress the rest. So you don't need any sort of fancy gas. Now, once you add different additional vectors into this, which, by the way, in my mind, the direction it goes to be able to create this in a more interesting fashion, actually, just based on the geometry alone, adds two additional axes, of rotation. potential for it right off the bat initially. So, I think that would be the stabilizing force right in itself, to actually create a greater compression. So the question is, okay, so how do you use it then? If you do it and you grow it and you feed it and you got it, right? How do you use it? Well, the answer then is to shift focus. Rather than focus on the formation, growing, or stability or maintenance, now what you're going to do is you're going to focus on habitative effect. Okay. Because as soon as you start playing with the resonances, okay, and then you're able to put induction coils around it, every single time it expands and contracts, you're going to get a fluctuation, an electromagnetic fluctuation and a pulse that can be picked up just based on the pulse of what keeps it together. Okay, so all you need to do is just pick it up for external, be on the beat. That's it.
Yeah. You take the pulse and take that amount of energy and you could pull it off each time and then it accumulates. Yeah, you could do that, no problem.
Exactly. And that's where these fucktards went wrong, because they're trying to think like a goddamn electrician or something and be like, jam a wire up its ass. See, you need the power out, jam a wire up it. How do you get power out of something? You plug it into the fucking wall, so stick a wire up its ass and just get the energy out. These guys are retards.
No, because
they're literally retards, and I'm sorry. Like, you just gotta fucking use exactly what it's giving. It's putting out perturbative pulse fucking energy. Pick it up. That's it.
Because it's doing the Bedini effect. You capture it like Bedini did. You take the spike and you get it. In this, you should be able to create a huge spike. Okay, but then we're talking about water being broken down and the hydrogen coming out of it. This is all the way the water car. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. This is combustion in the chamber itself, splitting.
It's doing the same thing.
Yeah, because all you're doing is ionizing the water. As soon as you ionize the water, you allow it to split. It makes it a lot easier. As soon as you do that, man, you get something like this growing inside your engine chamber, you immediately start to have combustible materials. Dude,
But you know what the funny thing is that if you were to actually visualize what this process looks like inside of an internal combustion engine, it's literally like a goddamn purple spirit flying around the engine, just pushing things and like that's exactly what it looks like. It's like a purple and pink light that's just like literally doing all the work in all these weird geometries and formations. Like, that's what it looks like when you use it in that particular way. And it's very usable that way. I just personally see it. I personally think of the idea of creating something with energy potential to get a greater deal of energy potential out, right? I see mechanical intervention in that circumstance as wasteful. Now, but if you're like me and you like to put your foot to the floor and hear a sound and things going and things moving like in a vehicle, I mean, that's great.
Yeah, but okay, it was Stan Myers, by the way. But here's the thing. We take nuclear material in order to turn a fan with steam. Okay, you got to remember what they do now. This is 100 times better than that already. Okay, you don't like mechanical, but that's all they do now is they make a bunch of steam and then they turn a turbine and that gives us energy. And we have nuclear waste from it. This is no waste. And you can still mechanically do it. Now, there's a better way. Sure, there is. Big reactors and stuff like that. But I don't know that you would need that. You would need to just contain this in some kind of like a reactor, but it has a different state to it probably if you get up in space. Okay? You know what I mean? It would probably grow out in the sizes of it is the way you would see it. You see the center core, you see the outer ring, the ring, the ring, the ring, the ring. You're feeding it in with both sides, one of the little bit of energy in there, a little bit of a hydrogen in there, and then it expands and contracts, and you start to use all that. You don't use the magnetic field out there. You use something to pull it in, to pull the energy from it right there. That's what you do. It'll just be different the way it's built out.
Well, you're not wrong, but it even reaches some of those like states, like right now, right here and now. It just depends on the densities and where it's at in its formation. See, it might be stable at those less dense states in space because it's space, but when you see the expanse of it, and I sent you a picture, it's kind of reddish pink looking or whatever. You could literally see that there's like an Oort cloud sort of deal billowing around it, and you could see the rotation of it. You could see the wall. You could see the sphere in the middle. You could see that Kashmir type projection out of the transverse axis. I mean, what else do you want? At the end of the day, there's only so many phenomena that you could literally sit there and shove in somebody's face and be like, here it is. Here it is. If you don't see it, you'll never see it. And then you could look for any reason to say it isn't what we're saying it is, except, well, how about this? Rather than you just say, no, it's not, how about you give me the proof that it's not, the same as I'm giving you the proof that it is? Because once you tie it all together and you realize that what you see here is what you see there, those are the mechanisms there, and then that's also exactly what you're seeing through the induced process that's being created here, it becomes a bit unrefutable. Sort of like if you kick somebody in the balls, they fall to the floor. You know what I mean? Like, you could walk around and kick 100 guys in the balls, and probably about 100 guys are going to fall to the floor. You know what I mean? Like, it's it. That's what happens when it's the same thing.
I wanted to address something, okay, just so you guys understand this. People misunderstand experiments because they're looking at specific details of an experiment instead of understanding what the process is going on and what the reactions that are happening is. That's why you can go from this to Stan Myers, because you understand the process of the reaction. Once you understand that, then it's not so hard. If you look at the physical details, oh, I need this coil. Oh, I need this part right here. You'll never understand it properly. You have to understand what's going on in the system.
Well, you go from a thunderstorm generator to this too.
Yeah,
because guess what? It all works exactly the same. We've been saying that from day one, and all the coil stuff that Nathan has been talking about, when in the optimal circumstance, actually works the same way too. In the optimal circumstance, but this is a much clearer way. Why?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what does Stan Myers, thunderstorm generator, and Sean Calderon have in common? They all have either a vacuum or a phase differential. Okay, a matter phase differential. That's it. Sean's utilizing a solid. Once you understand that the key is skipping the fades, going from the greatest to least and vice versa, aka sublimation, okay? That is the key, is basically suspension through a phase differential, or a vacuum being the phase differential in certain circumstances. Because realistically, when you think about it, an internal combustion engine is in a state of cavitation. Okay, it's just not how we generally think about it, but it's constantly in a state of compression or vacuum, and it just simply cycles between compression and vacuum. We don't think about it the same because it's not a bubble, right? But it is mechanically inducing that same environment. Sean is going into a solid to sit there and break something apart, and turn it into a plasma that otherwise couldn't atmospherically, bringing it into the atmosphere based on the known physics of the fact that these two things want to connect. But offset differential, they end up deflecting. Story for another day. Like things coalesce, this is where you get your zoning. You know, you start spinning it around and zone some more. You get it. Like, this is all basic physics shit. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Let me say this. You don't have any of this stuff without a pulse and an impulse. Okay. You have to have the inverse of what's going on in order for this stuff to create properly. That's what you can't say it as positive, negative, because they screwed that one up big time. You have to say it's the inverse. It's the pulse impulse. It's the magnetism and the static are on the same scale, while the radiant and um, radioactivity is on the other. A magnet's simply just a half-life of the energy that you put into it, and it's cold. Okay, it's like the impulse of it at that point. You're no longer at the pulse stage where it's hot and you're putting it through wires. Look, this is all working in the same phase. It's all the same thing. Okay, this is why when people start telling you there's no fields, there's nothing besides the dielectric and the magnetic. This is what they're talking about. There's only two sides to this. There's the impulse and the pulse. We live in the impulse section of our planet. We don't see the energy. We can't interact with it right away, but it shows up as soon as you do the hallway socks thing or whatever. You know what I mean? It starts to show up. Why? Because the impulse now became a pulse. You just changed the energy.
you want to know what a field looks like? Look at when the plasma isn't formed yet into the ball. Okay, when it's in a diffuse state of just being pulled up, it's billowing, right? It's moving, organizing, but it's billowing. Okay, it's in this diffuse state. Well, I mean, in these cases, there's certain things that are critical to this forming, right? That actually reduce how far it'll go. But ideally, if the whole entire surface was coated with the liquid, like to induce the current off the initiation of it, right? Well, you would see that would become very diffuse. It would be too diffuse to form. That's why you only put it in a small spot, right? But so it's that initial containment that allows for the kickoff. Throw that out there. But when you're thinking about a field, okay, what you see in that initial area is exactly what a field is. Now, what you see as you slowly click through the frames as it builds and organizes, then you realize that it gets dimensionality and it starts looping up on itself. This is what the fields do. And and that's the thing about it, is that when it starts to structure in the proper way, like you always describe, and then it starts to build out in the way that you describe, right? These are real areas of effect, okay? And the dimensionality that gets sustained, okay, is only done so through vectoring and torsion, okay?
Oh yeah.
So like once the vectoring changes and the magnetism kicks in, it folds, creates dimensionality, creates torsion, and then what that torsion ends up doing is like anything does. It's like a wave, like at the beach, where that wave is, like in a state of torsion. That's how it holds that shape until it breaks, right? So it's that exact state that holds the walls together, and that's what this stuff all is, man. Like, that's it. And you
Okay,
could
so
see it. You could see it go away when the light bulb goes out.
let me just say this. They give you a bad example of longitudinal and transverse. Just understand this. This is the pulse impulse problem. This is exactly what it is. Okay. You're not seeing it in the correct dimension. They keep telling you that the longitudinal is a spring. No, it's the bubble that does this. Okay. This is why string theory looks like a little string that goes like this, and then they pulse in and pulse out. That's your longitudinal. Okay. That's telling you it's the impulse of it. Your explosion part is your positive. That's your pulse that's going out. Okay. It's a pulse impulse state. It requires both. We're not seeing the transverse side correctly either. Okay. These things are pulses and pulses. Okay. One's an impulse, one's a pulse. One's an impulse, one's a pulse. It builds out exactly like that in string theory when they show you the string, but it's not a string you take and whip. It's literally the pulse and impulse of what's going on. That's what it is. That's why the inverse in your Tesla coil, which is the impulse in it, creates the other side of the energy, the negative E. It creates it. That's why. That's exactly the reason it does it. That's why you get a null zone in the middle of another coil that's not attached to it. Okay? That's why. It's all the same thing. This is all the same energy, man. We got two different types. And let me just say this as well. One, the longitudinal part, okay, of this is the radiant part. It's your radiation part. When Joe and I stuck that stuff down that Tesla coil, man, and we got that, you can see it in the light bulbs when they happen. It's radiation. It comes at you as soon as you connect this to an X-ray tube. It gives you radiation. It is the absolute radiant factor. So it's, you know what I mean? The amount of energy that builds out. Then we all know what positive energy does, man. It forces itself out to everywhere, okay? And creates heat. One creates heat, one takes in heat. It's the inverse of each other. One takes it in, one pulls it in. They feed off of each other. That's why you get this ball that's forming and continuously forming. It's not hard to figure out. It's all there.
You know, your two waveforms, like they're caduceus in their nature, meaning that they're helical. They're inverse and helical. Okay. And there's a codependent relationship
Yes.
in order for them to maintain the helical nature. Now, when you're talking about pure scalar, okay, it loses that because it doesn't have its other part in which to interact with, which is why it interacts in a plane. Okay, and the dimensionality is more or less compromised at that point. But like I said, at the same time, you know, this is it's a helical relationship that exists. It's the same as the planets chasing the sun and how we're orbiting the sun, but like, you know, at the same time, it's all moving, and it's all moving in a forward direction in just a greater scheme of, you know, the of the whole. And that's exactly the relationship that exists. You know, if you start taking you know, elements away from it, you know, you start knocking the planets off the sun, well, it loses that relationship, and now all of a sudden it loses a vector of motion, because it doesn't have that inverse relationship with that going around it. But that's neither here nor there because it's a little irrelevant. What I will say that's relevant is the little string that popped out of the portal that opened up in the middle of the thing. I sent you a photo of it. You zoom in on the photo, and it's not a string; it's a helical. It's a wiggling helical. It is literally three-dimensionally curved. It makes me wonder if it's just simply like a projection, like, you know, which makes you have to wonder about reality real quick, because if it's projecting out of this, you know, in the way that it was, you know, maybe it's just like, and then this is total, like, I don't know that I believe what I'm saying right now, and that's okay. Just saying, like, if it is in fact like a projection of a very small scale of something, okay, realize how real that projection came out, because it did not look plasmatic, okay, when it manifested in that nature, but it certainly did when it was coming and zipping out of existence. Okay. And it also, I adjusted the color, you know, the color saturations and levels, and did negative photo imaging on those photos, and that string does not, it doesn't share the relationship of the colors of the plasma. It shares the relationship with the matter that's surrounding it, but that doesn't defeat the fact that it literally turned into a ghost, expanded, sucked in, and all this weird stuff. And
Yeah.
it's wildly unexplainable. I mean, yeah, I mean, I could think of ways to explain it, but I don't know that it's okay or good or right.
No, I'm there with you. I got to say this, Joe. Okay. Space time is now once you okay, once you realize we're hurtling through the universe, okay, at the way that we are, space-time is a joke. Okay. It's like a scientific joke they're playing on us. Okay, you got to understand why. If you're spiraling somewhere and you're going through this thing, you cannot have two vectors of space. You cannot have three vectors of space. Okay, you have a fourth vector of space you have to appreciate because you're moving through a zone. Okay,
And there's so many more.
yeah, but
And
that's what I
that's the
mean.
thing.
There's so many
That's
more that your little
so many more.
XYZ axis is garbage now because it's not enough. It requires more. This is why when you look at string theory, it makes sense because it has a correct dimensionality because now you understand, hey, I'm not in a set space where it's just a bubble. Okay. My bubble is moving. It's going somewhere else. Okay. It's spinning. It's directionally moving with the sun everywhere. Okay. It's going through the galaxy. We're not in a set one spot in the galaxy. We're continuously moving around the center point. Therefore, you understand you do not have enough vectors of direction in an XY coordinate to do it. Your whole thing is messed up in space time.
I gave
Not
this little
correct.
thought experiment to you the other day, and I thought it was just really interesting and would be fun for everybody to kind of think about just for 1 second, right? Is if you were able to like remove yourself, okay, entirely from this situation, just back up, back up, back up, back up, right? And you see it all right, and everything kind of interacting with each other in its unison, all right. That would be mind blowing enough. But the only thing that would be more mind blowing than that, okay, is if you were to eliminate every single thing, be in a fixed point in space and time, but still or not time, but in space, okay, but then only be able to see Earth's motion as all these interactions are going. And you would realize very quickly how absurd it really is
Oh
because
yeah.
it would be doing things like you wouldn't even logically make sense. And why? It's because of all of the different macroscopic vectors of motion that it's is subject to at any given time. And the only reason that you can't think about it that way is because you're not fixing yourself in space and eliminating all the other stuff. Like because you can never ever keep track of it in that regard. But you realize, yeah, you're spinning and you're rotating as you're spinning,
Yes.
and you're also you know helically orbiting, but then you're also in a forward momentum, but you're also chasing a whole bunch of shit. And that stuff is all doing exactly the same thing that you're doing. Okay, just on a larger scale. But then that's doing that on a larger scale. And then you realize all of a sudden that like you have every single force literally in play at any given time to the point where like there's definitely some that like cancel out and this and that, and everything I just said would probably look very simple and pretty because of all the cancellation, which is crazy when you think about it too.
Yes.
Like you right, it becomes so complex, but when it falls into that equilibrium, all of a sudden it's like there it is, right? Because that's what happens. You have these canceling because you have everything that's working like this. You know that it goes inverse as well. So once you apply the inverse properties, it's exactly what you think.
Yeah.
Boom. There you go. That's where it gets nuts. Is it's the most complicated thing that then becomes exactly what you know because of all the inverse properties of everything.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, man. XYZ coordinate ain't gonna cut it in what's actually going on. As soon as you
Yeah.
realize we hurtled through space, man, your whole theory fell apart because you had too many vectors of direction that you can go immediately. And that's what everybody doesn't show. They keep showing everything in 2D, and I keep getting irritated because we're not in 2D. We're in a 3D, 4D, 5D situation, man. It just keeps putting it in there on you. And yeah. Sorry, Sean's got another video. I'll put it up, guys.
Yeah, let's do it.
I just wanted to clarify that, because once you knew that, it made no sense. It literally was like drawing things on a flat piece of paper, and that's how they wanted it to work, but that's not how nature works. Okay. Let's see. I hope I got the right one here. Let's see. Yeah. Oh man, you know what? Hold on. I don't know if this thing's gonna go, but Sean, you have to take that oscilloscope and push it together and blend it. You're gonna get a much different look than what you have right now. And they're gonna say it's out of focus, but it's for a good reason. Let's see, all you have is distortion going on. Let's see if we get incoherence as soon as it forms. Tess, that is cool though. You can see every time that it hits a different point, it spikes out on the oscilloscope. Yeah, you need to catch it when it forms, and I bet you're going to see the diamond shape, which is what you're going to see as soon as you change your oscilloscope look of it. Like, okay, so hold on, where is this video? When you get your oscilloscope and you get trained to use it, right? There's zoom in and zoom out. Okay, so as soon as you zoom the thing in, you're able to see it real fine, and you can see the little spikes and everything, right? As soon as you zoom it out, it looks like one fudged picture. Okay. And then what happens is you put something in resonance, you see coherence and diamond patterns forming across it. As soon as it goes into distortion, it just looks like garbage. But that's exactly what's going out in there. It doesn't have to tell you that it means anything. You know what I mean? On as far as where the frequency goes, it's telling you that, hey, we can form a dimensional pattern out of the resonance. We cannot do it out of the distortion. He said wrong video. Well, send me another one, Sean. I'll look. Yeah, everybody tries to write off everything, man. But you can't do that. You got to take everything into account. Man. Just so funny.
While you're doing that, let me ask the chat.
Go ahead.
At this stage of what you see, and I'm not talking about the skipping around and the, just figuring out like what works, what doesn't, and the anomalies and whatnot. When you see the sustained ball, okay, at this stage, what type of reaction would you consider this? That and that's for the chat. So put your answer up in the chat. I want to know what people are thinking as far as what type of reaction this is.
Are you asking what classification would you give it? Like, if you had to call a different name?
Right. I mean, is it is it a plasmoid state? Is it in a state of like, low energy nuclear reaction, like a Leonard? Or is it a precursor to a cold fusion reaction? Is it doing any cold fusion? Like, tell me where you think it's at. I have my ideas. I just want to know what everybody else is thinking too, or if it's just an electromagnetic anomaly, based on charge differentials. Because honestly, I mean, that's an arguable point too, I think.
Time energy says space-time reverse state.
I'd love to know what time energy thinks our wiggling string is.
Well, it's definitely got torsion field, so time knows what's going on. Electrochemical fusion. So far just electromagnet.
Okay. He takes it back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Done.
I'm waiting for him to come in so I can read them. So I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sustained toroids have been made by Russians in xenon tubes for a while. It's the same effect. I don't limit it necessary unless okay, N2, N3. They're a coupling of X-rays, nuclei from plasma.
That's
Wow, that's a
fair.
mouthful.
Well, yeah, but you know what, Elijah? I think iteration 2 is going to address some of those. Now, whether or not you need actual X-ray emission, okay, with the voltage states and the frequency that's dealing with and the interaction with the the like the what do you call it, oxides in the clay, okay, like I think that there could be those type of frequency potentials in general, and then once the hydrogen states get higher, I think that it's going to be on course to actually meet those requirements. That's what I believe.
Okay, give me a second. I'm pulling up
Definitely high
Sean's.
impedance making torsion plasma. Yeah.
Oh, well, we got a fun one here, Joe. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
And we got cavitation. This is inside of a ring magnet, it looks like.
Yep. Now you see that line that keeps on coming up that seems out of sequence with the rest of them? It's a constant. Okay, and there's no clear mark on the hot that creates that. It might be the carbonization. Oh, there she goes. So the counterclockwise, which is not this video, it's the other one that we watched, right? That one forms faster than normal. This with the clockwise is prohibitive of it forming.
It seems like that magnet's counterproductive to the whole process.
Correct. Well, all he did was flip the magnet, right? So it had one direction, one way, one direction, the other.
No, but look,
So
it's starting to build out the little one. And because of the massive rotation, it can't. And it gets sucked back up to the energy. Starts to build it out. And nope. It starts it again. That rotation with that magnet screwing it.
Now, ironically, all the fighting that it's doing, okay, if it were to actually form centric in the exact center of where like the null zone sort of is, the same as any rotating object, right? Where you can stick your finger and it's just there, right? It would actually be a greater force than the ease of the counter directional rotation from the other way, right? So when it goes counterclockwise, it forms faster. When it goes clockwise, it's struggling to make at all. But if you get it to form in the center of the clockwise, that would be its highest energy potential.
Yeah, but it would be, hold on. It would be a lot better to simply turn on an electromagnet once it's already formed and then see if it compresses it any further. because right now it's fighting it, and you need to form it first, then turn on the magnetism. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, there's two schools of thought on that. Um, One works off of the same concept as like the figure eight and the way that I brought the energy out of the Tesla coil, flipped it, how it's inverse like that, right? So like the counter rotation in that case actually feeds it. But then there's the other way of thinking about it, which is just like using the magnetic spin to accelerate it once it's already formed.
Sean says each side, one helps, one hurts it.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you. So the one that we saw the string come out of, how the ball formed almost right away. Okay, that was that same experiment with that magnet flipped upside down. So it's opposite rotation.
I've seen this. This isn't a magnetron. No, they do a high voltage experiment with a magnetron and they show it in a vacuum chamber. And as soon as they do, this is what happens. Okay. You get the discharge from the center and then it starts to build out. Looks like a galaxy, how it has the little tendrils coming off of it on each one of the tabs. And it's because it's a constant frequency over and over and over again. It gets a state of coherence in it. It's the same thing. It's a constant rotational state. It comes out in plasma that way. But they have the magnets on the top and the bottom, and you have a counter rotational state going on. I don't think it's much different. Time Energy says in this field has no magnetism. I don't know that I agree with that at all. It starts out, it's spinning energy, and then it builds out a magnetic field, is what I think.
It doesn't initially. It's all current initially.
No, originally, yeah, but I think it builds one.
Yeah, it goes into a charged state, but as soon as it gets with or without the external magnet, which that one had it, right? Like with or without it, it creates a rotation of the current. And it's that rotation of the current that starts to build the magnetic field. So once that magnetic field develops enough, and the density levels come up enough, then that's when it starts to form. And that was the whole point of going through all those slides before. It actually kind of shows the mechanisms of the relationships of the energy and what's happening.
Yeah, I'd worry about this. Okay, measured on a spectrum analyzer. Sorry, I can't say the word. One thing you got to remember: there's opposites to stuff. If those built out in the hot way, something building out in the cold way. That's why you get two different zones. Okay, you get the one zone, and then it's not a solid circle. There's another zone around it. Okay. We don't know that the currents themselves are not in that negative field, which would come out cold to it, which would not show up on the analyzer. So just remember that there might be something more there that we're not seeing.
Now, Elijah brought up and Sean kind of answered too, but I wanted to throw my hat in the ring for this one. No way to test it, so I'm interested in the outcome also. Okay, but what my logic brought me in my head when I was kind of like thinking all this out and imagining kind of what's happening, the way that I saw the polar collapse, okay, was like an inverse sort of situation, okay, because of the split and doubling that occurs. And we've seen the split and doubling in the videos, right? So it splits and it folds, and that's how it goes from the vortex magnetic state into the toroidal magnetic state. And it's not really until the forward magnetic state that it would be polarized, because the ends are not like pinched, so to speak, right at that point. So once you pinch the ends and it collapses, I think that it goes this way, but then creates this opposite vector thing. This is how I'm seeing it in my head. So I have this idea going on that the magnetism in it has polarity, but it's a variable orbital polarity where it's in a constant state of chase with the north and south pole. Okay, so that's my theory of it. And I don't know why I kind of feel that way. I think I lack the words to explain it, but that's how I see it.
Well, when you have something in rotation, so the friction puts the other objects on the outside of it in counter rotation. So sometimes there's more there than what you think there is.
Yeah. I mean, and I'll throw out there the time energy, and it's something I've said a bunch of times before about and Ken Wheeler's a big proponent of this too. The stronger that your magnetism grows, the tighter it always pulls in, which means that the less external magnetism that it displays. So what ends up happening is that you have a magnetic component to it because of the um, energy vectoring that's occurring, okay, in a toroidal and spiralitic fashion through a torus in this case, right? So that component's there, but because it's kind of in a stable and condensed state at that point, it's very pulled in. So it doesn't have an electromagnetic effect where like you be able to like stick something to it necessarily. It's not that type of magnetism like that. It's a compressive magnetism, and because it's in a pulse state because of how it all comes together, you know, it really is an internal magnetism. It's not an external magnetism.
It's an impulse of magnetism. I get it.
Right. It's an impulse of magnetism, exactly. So it just changes. That's all. It's not the same as like the thing that picks up the car at the junkyard and chucks it to the side at that point. It's like something else entirely. It's because the fields are compressed.
Yeah, by the way, those magnets, doing that experiment for Mike's channel later on, let me tell you, those things are horrible to work with. Absolutely horrible. Because they're not a vortex that rotates. They're a set, thing, right? But then when you get to the part where they're cut, right, where you go two different sides to it, right, and they're split in that way, when you get to the angle right here, it is the worst angle in the world to have a magnet at. It is literally like one of the most powerful spots there is. And then that's what's giving you your pushback and everything. It's like you get a great push on one side, you hit that little side piece right there, man, and then boom, it's like just a big brace. So you have to pulse this thing in and out in order for it to get it to move, man. It's a real pain in the butt. Then I said, okay, let's try to play weak magnet, strong magnet on this thing. Let's put the weak magnet on the disc, and then we'll take the strong magnet on the outside. Nope, that's the same force because they're interacting together like a mirror. Then I said, okay, let's just take some metal. I'll just take a bolt, and I'm going to hold the bolt on the outside of the magnets that are there, right? Nope, had the same effect. It mirrored it onto the bolt, and then it gave me the same exact field at that angle. And I'm sitting there going, okay, this just sucks, man. Because you literally have to have an on and off state to this stupid thing. Okay, or have the magnet out far enough where you have a centrifugal force state that pulls it through. That's the only way to get it to do it. Okay, it's irritating.
Well, I mean, that was one thing that I was talking about sort of in the paper too, is, when you're building up the dimensionality of it, you have two rotational axes that are actually counter each other. Whether you could see the other one or not, it's there. Okay. These things build out double all the time. It's no different than the stone in the pond situation that I was telling you about. It's there, right? So, you don't get to see it until it starts to build up in the dimensionality. So, what ends up happening is when it starts to come up, it starts a different relationship between the two parallel counter rotations that builds up the dimensionality, and it's that changing from a parallel counter rotation, kind of like one on top of the other, if you want to think about it that way, even though it's not, it then builds up to a 45-degree angle, and it's that 45-degree angle that then is the mechanism of bringing the shell out, but also the collapse and pinch of the the vortex, right? So you have to imagine that you have these two things going like this, and as they're building in a relationship with each other, as the angle pitches up, gives it dimensionality, and then as it pitches up until it reaches this point of equilibrium between the two, and that collapses the ends. Okay, you just have to be able to visualize what it's doing.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, Sean,
Yeah.
I want to say thank you for all the videos tonight, man.
Amazing,
Totally
man.
awesome
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you. Yeah, Sean said he had to take off. I want to make sure that we said something. Yeah, he's doing
Yeah.
awesome work, man. So,
Beyond amazing. Thank you so much, Sean. It was a pleasure speaking with you today. Hopefully, we can do it again soon. Um, what happened a second ago? I think Deadfish was saying something about Ken saying if you
yeah, I
you
want to
know
get back to that real quick.
yeah if you bring a magnet to quartz, right? You could feel the repulsion. Well, it's interesting if you take a piece of quartz or any crystalline, silica. Really, it could be like chalcedonies and different, shirts and stuff like that. As long as it's like in that family, all right. And you run it over a neodymium, and it's flat. If you have both surfaces perfectly flat, right? Well, if it's non-reactive, non-magnetic, it should just skim right across the top, right? You just be able to push it right across the top like nothing, right? Any flat surface on flat surface. Well, what you get with quartz is if you just move it back and forth ever so slightly on top of the neodymium magnet, you'll feel it start to tug at certain points. Feel it start to tug at certain points. Tug.
Well, he's referring to
There.
Ken's video, and Ken went like this. Okay, he had a distance where the quartz was here, okay, and the magnet was here, and he's saying you can feel it coming in just like this. Okay, at that distance is what I remember when I saw the video. So he's saying that there's one side that's always magnetic in quartz. Now, the only thing I caution on is did he use double-ended quartz? Okay, was it open-ended quartz? Okay, make sure you get the right one, and then make sure you get the magnet size that he did to get the same result. Okay, that's all I'll say.
Yeah,
I
you're going
think
to need a
doing-
powerful magnet to have that type of effect.
Yes.
Like, you're not going to get like a little button neodymium magnet and get that kind of reach out.
No, no. You need like a 1 inch by 1 inch cube.
Yeah,
in
you need
order
a
to
bit.
hit that. And see if he's got that in the video. He probably has a round one.
But
Yeah.
I mean, case in point is that like there is a relationship, and it does cause seemingly like a skip force, which is weird because like the skip force is like it feels like friction, like it's grabbing and then it releases, but then it grabs again, right? And I don't know if it's just subjective because of when it grabs and releases and the difference between that, but it feels like the grab is much harder than the grab would be normal friction wise. And then it feels like the skid is a lot less friction than it would be just normal. So it's like kind of two sides of the spectrum there as far as like that skipping effect is concerned.
Well, I got to warn you, by the way, if there's any magnetic effect in it, then guys, there's energy in it somehow. Okay. You're only going to get magnetic or a static state out of energy that's in there, and that only comes from the frequency that's in it. Therefore, it has to have some even infinitesimal amount of energy. It must have it. He says right here, he says, sometimes if you don't believe me, I don't care. Go ahead and try it yourself. I don't care. Yeah, Ken's that way. Yeah, he don't give a flip, man. He finds it. He says that's it. But yeah, no, I think it's outstanding that you're challenging the theory and saying, hey, let's do it. Just make sure you're doing the same thing he's doing as to prove or disprove it. Because that's the first thing he's going to point out.
Yeah.
That's what happens every time. And you got to make sure if it's double terminated, like Joe talks about, where it pinches at both ends, or if it's open, whichever one he was using, make sure you do the same thing.
Right on.
Yeah, like he's asking for it. Hey, I feel the same way when he said stuff on that video, man. He loves people to challenge him. I think he just likes a good argument. But I'll tell you what, man, if you're going to argue with him, you better have a very good word database to pull from, because that man's going to hit you with every word in the book. And I don't mean in a bad way. It's just going to get very complicated very fast. There you go. Maybe you'll win a golden ticket. Hey, we're rooting for you, man. You're part of our team over here, man. We're rooting for you.
That's
Okay?
it.
We're behind you all the way, man. You get that golden ticket.
All right. Should I open up the can of worms on what I believe stage 2 of this ought to be?
Go ahead.
All right. Do you have the pictures?
Let me see. Yeah, I went through a ton of stuff. Which one's the
Yeah.
writing ones? The one with the writing on them?
Yep. The diagrams, and then there's the one of that thing that isn't the thing, but it's a good way to show what the idea is.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'll pull it up. This one?
No, that was funny. That was just me marking up one of Sean's experiments. Like, look, you could see a cloud. Look, that's crazy. Oh, look, the line from the string that disappeared. And then I'm like, why is this goddamn beam of light here this whole entire time? Like, well, I was like, really? Like, are you kidding me? I didn't even notice the little orbiting fucking micro sun next to it. Like, whatever. I was like,
I know what you're going to talk about. It's not showing up at the bottom.
okay, well, I'll just.
Hold on.
Oh, look, it's a little
man.
deer outside my window. That's a like yum nugget.
Joe lives in the middle of the woods, man. He's got wild deer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, come on now. You don't want to eat that deer.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me find it real quick.
I mean, I could take a second and send it to you again. It was up a ways because we move fast.
Yeah, well, this is the one I got, but there's little ones in it, and I can't get to them.
All right, don't worry about it. I'll tell you about it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so the idea here is to take what Sean's already doing, and we know works, okay?
Okay, yeah.
And then just simply reconfiguring it slightly to exploit the things that I think would make this grow and stabilize. Okay. And basically, if you've ever seen when they take the coils around the edge and it's in a circular fashion, right? And then they negatively charge it, and then they put the anode in the middle of a circle, and it's standing up like that, circle with the anode coming out at it, right? It basically just creates a rotational, plasma wheel thing. That's all it does, period, right? And it's no different all too much than what Sean's already doing, okay, except for the fact that it's a more stable and regular type of motion, all right? It basically induces a better additional movement to the initiation stage of it starting up by configuring it this way. So what I came up with was basically, some redneck nonsense. I said that, you get a couple of PVC pipe couplings, that would be like 2-inch to 1.5-inch. And what you do is you cut the coupling down, so it's only the step down portions. All right, so you cut off like the pipe connectors at the end, clip them off. Okay, here we go. Yeah, now we're in. Yeah. So basically what you do is you would cut these two couplings, and then you would drill a half of a hole at the top of each where they're going to line up, which would just be like a 1/2-inch hole at the top where you're going to put a fitting to be able to fill and run your cathode wire to. You line the inside of the PVC pipe with stainless steel foil tape to act as the cathode. And then you just glue the whole entire thing together, hook up your cathode line by drilling a hole through the cap in the pipe that's up at the top. And then you basically seal it, PVC glue, the whole 9 yards. Then you take a 1-inch, 1.5-inch diameter terracotta clay pipe, which they sell. You put it into the middle of that coupling, and then you seal it in. You know, cut the size in the whole nine. Fill it with water. Take your anode, put it on a stand. Make sure that it's perfectly dead center of that thing, and then turn it on. And what the idea here is you know, you want to be able to have a containment of the cathode and the water to create to create the hydrogen draw into the clay pipe from all directions. You know, and then by sparking the anode and having it hit in that rotational circumstance, that should help gather and build the plasma density in that circle of both the anodic and cathodic plasma, and then allow it to combine in the same way that it does. Okay, but then it should probably start to continue along the edge, both leading to you know, again, an extra vector of rotation that's in a more fixed and regular way, and also give it a sustained, you know, hydrogen, you know, accumulation as well, coming in through the clay pot, since it's now forced. Because my opinion of it is that a lot of the hydrogen that's coming out of Sean's experiments right now is just what's wicked up at the top layers, and that the draw isn't really pulling much because of you know, there's massive hydrogen loss because it's being lost to atmosphere, and by sealing it off, you would actually you know, be introducing that opposite charge state to draw it out of the water into the clay in a higher density level, that would be able to ultimately allow for greater density. And that's sort of the idea at this point. Now, if something like this were to work and sustain and grow and at a high enough energy density level, then I believe that it stands to reason that you could actually put you know, just simple pickup coils on the outside if it enters into a rotational capitative state, you know, and probably be able to pick up all of the pulse energy that it puts off, you know, as it's doing its thing. And I that's what I think at this point. I don't know a better way to kind of put it, but you know, maybe something like this would work.
Oh, sorry.
And Declan says, "Am I making a filter?" Yeah, basically, you know, the at the end of the day, what's wonderful about the clay is the fact that it's acting as a membrane. You know, it has a certain wick rate, which, by the way, that was one thing that came up, is how to prevent the oversaturation of the clay from the constant water exposure. Okay, that's one thing that we haven't talked about, is the fact that Sean has to change out the clay pots or the clay pieces every few minutes because they become oversaturated. So one way to figure that out is through experimentation. You have to be able to determine the wick rate of the pot versus the you know, rate of its breakdown based on the outer reaction. You know, and then the inside you would just basically seal or glaze an evenly spaced matrix pattern on the back to still evenly distribute the moisture level, but at the same time also restrict it from the full contact with the water. And that's one way to you know, one way to kind of think about it, I guess, to prevent the oversaturation. But at those high energy levels, you never know.
Sorry, Joe, while you're talking, I'm playing with my quartz.
Yeah, play with your rocks, brother.
I don't have the right one, so I have this one. Okay,
Nice.
it's just a monster piece, but I'm not getting a whole lot of anything out of it. And I got a neodymium magnet, albeit small. Okay, it's a neodymium 52. I can slide it on the top. I'm not getting any value out of it. The thing is, though, when I pull it back and forth, it could be the weight and it shifting, or it could be a little pull. And I don't know which. It's just super small. And it might be the wrong quartz to do it in. So, yeah, but it's there. I mean, there's something tiny bit, but I don't think I'm getting it all, if I'm getting it, or it's just the weight. I'm not sure which.
Well, do it the other way around. Just rub the magnet on the outside of the quartz, and you should feel the opposite, being the magnet grabbing.
So I can push it, and I
Yeah,
got
but
nothing.
keep on doing it. It actually, in my experience, it doesn't happen initially. It's like one of these, like, you got to move it situations.
Okay, well, I'm rubbing her down.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I would do it if I had it in my hands.
Yeah, I got nothing, man.
No? Light
Not
touch,
like
man.
this.
Finger right on top.
Right on top of the outside,
It's
or
super subtle. Very, very subtle. What I'm talking about is subtle, subtle stuff. Now you want to make me try it. But I don't want my neodymium.
huh, I'm not getting it in this one, man.
Yeah, I don't want my all my magnets broke.
I got a piece of crystal here, but it's not anything, you know.
Here, I have like a fraction of
quartz.
a neodymium magnet.
I'm not getting anything from this one either, man. I don't have that. That's what I need right there. Okay.
First of all, as soon as I touched it, it felt charged immediately.
Well, you got the right kind. You got the clear one that Ken was using.
And right off the bat, the magnet's already catching. It's already catching. Oh, right there. It's super subtle. Listen, it's super subtle. I mean, you could overcome that force like nothing, but it's doing it. I can absolutely feel it. It's way more friction and grab. It feels like a grab, like a magnetic brake right there.
Okay.
Magnetic brake right there, and you can actually see I'm moving it straight back and forth, but you'll see it probably my finger slip on it. It's happening. It's just super subtle, like you know.
Okay. I'm looking for Ken's video right now. If anybody has a name to it, got like 50 other people on here. So, not finding it right off the bat.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do this again, man. I got to get a piece of quartz like you guys got. All right, I'm not gonna be able to find that right now.
Yeah, we'll link up. I'll go. I'll get your piece.
Oh, okay. Man, trying to do this stuff on the wrong stuff, man, gives a bad idea. I don't want anybody to think, you know what I mean?
Well, yep. I mean, that huge geode, I mean, it's beautiful and all, but like at the same time, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
Crystal structure wise, there's like a lot going on there, man. Like, it's all one crystal, but it's not at the same exact time. Like, all those lattices grew out independently and then grew into one another. And, you could see it zoned out and stuff at the bottom where it kind of comes together, where it kind of grows out of. They share like a mutual seed, so to speak, at some point, but it's all kind of grown up on its own together in that way. So it might not have the same exact, linear effect as just a whole entire crystal would.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's why one like yours would be best.
Yeah. That thing's set up like a scalar array. right?
Oh, yeah.
All of its projection is to the center.
That's right.
Yeah,
You gotta, in order to play with it, you gotta go in the hole.
yep. You excited a little bit, and it just puts out like a pew, pew, whoop. You know,
Oh, that's funny.
it's like a repeater.
This thing's bad. It'd be like medieval style, like going in the middle of that, dude. No, thank you. That's like
Yeah.
what is those underwear, the medieval underwear they put on there, man. So you can't get in there. Chastity
I don't
belt.
know, man. If they grew a huge geode like that, like but huge, like to the point where you could like it cut in half, go inside, right? And then they start banging the thing, you know, from like all over or vibrating it from every direction or something. You know, you just be in like the center of it being like annihilated by piezoelectric energy because it all comes out the tip.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be terrible. It's like a portal.
Yeah,
That's a trip, man.
something like that.
I still got to run some high voltage through that when I get a new flyback, man. I'm gonna destroy mine.
I'm gonna be straight, man. Like seeing like that weird situation earlier, and I'm sorry to keep on bringing it up, but like that like to me just like you said portal, and I'm just like that's what it feels like to me, man, and that's strange.
Oh, your little string?
Yeah, it was very portally. The whole entire thing, start to finish, was very portally. But, you know, the whole plasma flash, the bolt, you know, like that geometric shape, the fact that it popped out in between two geometric pieces of organized plasma, and just like didn't look like plasma and wasn't plasma, and then turned into a ghost, and like the whole thing just is like screwy to me, man. I don't know.
You got a ghost worm in the circuit?
Right, right. He brought a fucking ghost worm into the world, and then zapped him. The thing was like Earth, bye. You know,
That's so
like,
great.
Earth 2025. Get me the fuck out of here.
Oh man, dude,
Yeah,
that's
man.
amazing. That came out of nowhere, man. It was just like boom, they're gone.
All right. So I'm gonna say something strange. I guess it's a little strange, but you know how like something that is upper dimensional, how it can only show small portions of itself in lower dimension,
Mm.
like fragments and stuff of
Oh,
itself.
what if it was a giant caterpillar you were saying, and it only showed one little wiggle part of the worm?
Well, I mean, right. The idea is like they basically said like if you have a 3D shape or something, and you're moving it, and you're a 2D plane person, and you're moving a 3D shape through a 2D plane, all you would see is the line of whatever it is going through, getting bigger or smaller as the portions of the shape go through. That's sort of what you would see, and then that makes me see that and like realize like, cool, there that is, but where like was the rest of it here too? Like it's kind of something to like get your head around a little, because things don't just pop out of plasma holes necessarily that are three-dimensional objects. They just appear three-dimensional. Probably something more to it. I don't know. Kind of strange. And I don't know how I like that juju shit with the whole, you know, counter rotation, you know, counterclockwise rotational magnetic field situation.
Oh, you never know if there was water there and it zapped the water and started building out something.
Turned it into a fucking
Much,
string, Nathan.
no, not a string, but if it was forming some sort of DNA in the water or something, just by the process that was going on, would be an absolute just like blow me away type of thing. But I
Well, I
don't know.
mean, there was your string theory right there, though. The thing was both helical and shaking and came out of a compressed ball. So, you know, like it's, man, that's a lot for me to absorb.
Yes,
Because I'll sit there and tell you anything about what I see in this stuff and what I think's happening, and all that's all cool and everything. But man, that whole whatever jumped out of the plasma void after like the little burst thing that happened, like it just seemed very, very movie like.
Yeah, string theory is not anything like those little wobbly strings, by the way.
No, and I know that we've discussed that, but I'm just saying, like,
no, I think it's paranormal, man. It's like it's bordering on that. We're like you're gonna have nightmares and stuff about it. Like
I don't know about nightmares, but that was a little paranormal, man. Like that, it, that was a little paranormal. That ain't no shit. Like, man, you're
so
talking to
amazing.
somebody that likes to like wander in his head in outer space, like with meditation and this and that and the other thing. Man, I'm telling you, that was paranormal stuff.
The Joe worm. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude. Oh man, dude, it's getting close to 3 hours, Joe. Dude, this has been an awesome show, though. This is
Good
way
one.
cool stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, it's not like we're trying to, figure out cold fusion or anything, right? I keep on saying that. It's not like we're trying to figure that one out.
So Joe's gonna make a DIY version of cold fusion and then get arrested by the government. It's in his backyard.
That's why he didn't take my advice. I said, I was like, this is what you're gonna name this video today. I was like, DIY cold fusion.
Yeah, we're all getting arrested now.
Hold on. DIY cold fusion under $10.
Under $10. That's even better. Oh,
See, man, I got the balls to do that. I don't care. What are you gonna? You gonna take away my YouTube where I have music videos that I have saved on my phone? Like, what are you gonna do?
Oh man, that's so great though. DIY, like do it yourself, like build it in your garage. Here you go.
Oh, well, I mean, what's happening? This is exactly what it is. DIY cold fusion under $10. I mean, okay, the power supply costs a little more, but everything else combined under $10.
Yeah, ghost worm. We're calling it Joe's ghost worm or Joe's worm.
Yeah, that was definitely a ghost worm. I did ghost worm.
Oh man,
Paranormal. Thanks.
nice. Yeah, Joe Legacy or Joe Legance is awesome, brother.
Clock circuit idea. I didn't catch on to that one. I'll have to check it out. I like Joel. He gets right to the point. I dig that.
Oh yeah, very much to the point. Yeah,
not like us fucktards that sit there and screw around and use a lot of words to say a little bit of stuff.
Yeah. That's funny, dude.
Look, if everybody knew what the hell we were talking about, like I always say, what would I say? This episode would be 30 seconds long, and I'd just say offset differentials. Right? Asymmetrical equilibrium.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'd be done in a few seconds. Right. Oh, man. Nice. All right, guys. I want to thank everybody in the chat, man. You've been totally awesome tonight, man. Very cool subject. Thank you, Sean, very much for all the videos, man. Again, I will put those up on the membership portion, man. You can go back, watch them, play them, fast forward them, see what you think about them. Joe, thank you for all this, man. Totally cool analysis, man.
Right on.
Thank you guys all very much. Have yourselves a great night.
All right. Peace and love.
The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality been stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition, has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to instead. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition, has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition, has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds.